So getting into Volume 3 for Overlord, this is a volume that I really enjoy, the Irons versus Shalltear fight, and I will get into why and all the details for that. But the main thing to start off with is of course Sebas and Solution. Masquerading as a noble, Solution very much playing that pompous little girl attitude kind of thing. She does it marvelously. And then of course you got Sebas doing the butler thing. It does it perfectly. They play their roles absolutely to the T, following the mission as of course assigned by, of course, Irons. That is where, of course, they use that as a way to draw out who they want. Shalltear also appears, and then Shalltear goes on her mission to try and capture someone that knows or has the skills of martial arts. And then, of course, trying to gain as much intel about the world. Magic, martial arts, economy, politics. Like, they're trying to gain as much information overall, and I'm talking about the overall sort of scope of what's been going on through volumes 1, 2 and now 3. Irons has definitely done a really good job at trying to gain as much information as possible. I definitely think there is some areas where he's missed, but he's trying to gain as much information as quickly as possible in the best and most efficient way that he can think of. And he's definitely got a lot of questions to ask, especially with the fact that there are certain things from the game that are in this new world that he's kind of wondering about, which is from volume 1 with the magic. So there's definitely a lot of things that he wants to learn, so Shalltear has been assigned to find more information about martial arts. That being said, Shalltear goes off looking for some people with martial arts, and she ends up bumping into Brain. I kind of feel sorry for him because he's very arrogant at the start, and then he realizes the difference between himself and Shalltear and just the power scaling, and that true despair hits him. But Shalltear lets the situation get the better of her with her own arrogantness, which definitely doesn't work in her favor, which kind of, I guess, two sides of the same coin. It allows Brain to escape, which does annoy her quite a lot, and then she ends up leaving, and that's where she ends up bumping into a girl that, of course, was received the potion in the previous volume, which she panics and thinks it's somehow interfered with overall Irons' plan. This volume, to me, is very straightforward. It's kind of, you know, A, B, C, D. It just kind of goes from one point to the next. There's nothing too big or overly detailed to get into, because for me, it's just basically setting up the whole Shalltear getting mind control, which is exactly what happens after this. She finds out about the whole situation going on with this adventurer that had the healing potion, and then she ends up seeing something further down. She sends her two companions, which, might I add, there's a bit of a difference between the light novel and the anime when it comes to how she treats them. She's a lot more hands-on-y, and her personality is a lot more provocative in the actual light novels, which, again, you're never going to get a one-to-one when it comes to anime to light novel. But she sends those two out, and they end up dying pretty much instantly, so she goes and investigates herself, and she allows that bloodlust to control her, which then leads to the downfall of Shalltear, being that, of course, she gets mind controlled by a world-class item, which Irons finds out it's a world-class item after using, of course, the item Shooting Star and the spell Wish Upon a Star, which is the whole thing that really leads up to this big epic tale or big fight between Irons versus Shalltear. And the reason why I love the fight is the way that Irons does it for almost like pride sense. He doesn't want his other floor guardian, or the other floor guardian is not particularly his because he didn't create them all except for Pandora's actor, but he doesn't want the other floor guardians to have to fight each other. So he decides, well, it's his mess up, he'll deal with it, he's the boss, he's going to deal with Shalltear, and he'll take her out. And technically, without certain items, which are the cash shop items, I don't really see Irons ever being able to beat Shalltear, because Shalltear is built perfectly for 1v1. She is the perfect player versus player kind of situation, even though she's not a player herself. But now that she is alive, technically, she could be classified as a player. But for a 1v1 situation, she is perfect for that. And she would dominate the fight normally, but Irons, of course, has a couple of tricks up his sleeve, and he uses a couple of cash up items to allow him to dominate that fight. And of course, he's got to try and convince, of course, Albedo to allow him to go out there, but of course, someone else doesn't particularly like that. That's also one of the major floor guardians. And it comes down to Cocytus to stop that, and then they play out the whole situation and they watch it. And of course, surprise, surprise, Irons comes out victorious. I just really like the fight, but then of course, I really like a lot of the fights in Overlord when it comes to Irons because of the the sheer dominance that he shows, where he just allows the enemy to think they've got their leg up, and then there's the true despair as he shows just how dominant he is over the opponent. But then there's also fights like this where, yes, he does show how he's completely outmastered Shalltear, because he played the fight in a certain way that allowed her to use certain skills, and then he'd do certain things in a certain way, and it all played out masterfully as he hoped. Of course, if things just went slightly different, it would have gone completely haywire. So he was putting a big gamble there. At the same time, and this is something that you can notice in the anime, but you only fully 100% know how it plays out in the light novels, is one of the other floor guardians, one of the two twins, the elf twins, also helps Irons in that fight, because Irons hesitated for that split moment before he used his cash up item. But in the anime it shows it, but because it shows it, it doesn't directly tell you compared to the light novels. So sometimes some people miss that part, which is of course where he's using the cash up item, he hesitates to use it, and Shalltear's about to go for an attack, and that's where, of course, one of the twins uses an ability to kind of distract her for that split second. I just think it's a really nice little subtle detail that the anime does, but it doesn't like shove it in your face like you're an idiot, like you have to know that this happened. But at the same time, I've seen some people actually miss that as well, and it's just something that reflected over the many years where people go, oh, that happened. The next thing though too is, of course, after that they use the money to bring her back, and of course by luck, she comes back, she's not mind controlled. There's also the whole situation of her not remembering what happened during that whole situation, which is definitely a damper, because we as the individuals reading it know what happened. But now Irons is definitely in this sticky situation where he needs to find out what happened to her, what world-class item was used, if it's one that he knows of, or if it's a new one. Again, he's not sure at this point. And then finding out who this opponent is that did what they did, and then of course getting revenge, of course, for what happened. But he's also used a lot of money to bring back Shalltear as well, which it's not cheap. It's not cheap to bring back one of those types of floor guardians because of just how powerful Shalltear is. So they're going to have to be a lot more careful on how much money. I mean, of course, they've got heaps of money, but you don't want to waste it just willy-nilly, because that's how you end up losing it all, just to silly stuff. So it is important that they are also not too relaxed with all of that money that they've got stashed away. And to be honest, I don't think Irons really wants to use that specific cash. He wants to try and acquire it through, of course, the new world, so that way he can see what he can and cannot use it for, trying to sort of stick to what's in the light novels per se. And then of course at the end of that, it talks about how Irons is using Solution and Sebas, particularly Sebas, of course, mentioned, is bait to draw out this opponent. And then, of course, Albedo mentions about using the Lizardmen, which they just discovered as undead fodder, trying to find something stronger that can make stronger undead so that they have a stronger, big army to use. I will say, though, when I look at one character that I really love out of this volume, that I feel like that one family member that no one really loves or cares about, but it's just like the stepchild kind of thing, which is Pandora's Actor, because of course Irons created Pandora's Actor, and Pandora's Actor is a little bit special. It's that phase that Irons went through, his Chibio kind of phase, where he had this whole kind of mindset going on at the time, and he created Pandora's Actor. And Irons very much regrets it. I feel sorry for Pandora's Actor, because I like Pandora's Actor. I think he's just fun. He adds a lot of light-hearted moments to the story, even though for what little he played in this volume. I just really like Pandora's Actor, and I feel like sometimes Irons puts Pandora's Actor down more than what it deserves. And I think sometimes Irons needs to realize that, hey, it is your creation. You did make it the way you did, but at the same time, Irons is very regretting because of that kind of phase that he went through. So it's understandable. I still really love Pandora's Actor. I also love Pandora's Actor's design, just because it's very unique compared to all the others. All the others are very much fitting a very specific theme that works well with Nazarick. But Pandora's Actor is just like an odd one out for me personally. So I don't know, I just love Pandora's Actor, and the fact that Pandora's Actor has the abilities that it has also adds some fun and flavor to it as well. So again, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What did you like about Volume 3? For me, I just always like the fights in Overlord because of the abilities, how it's written, how it plays out. It's always just so well done. It's just like butter, cutting through butter. It's just very nice and smooth and easy to kind of read, and it's always fun to reread these from time to time. So again, love to know your thoughts, but of course, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe for more anime content, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.